Alright, so today we have an A1502 MacBook, and it says no power. Let's open this thing up and try and figure out why it has no power, and see if we can make it work again. Alright, so the first thing that I like to do on these machines is I like to see how much power it's taking without the battery plugged in, because if the battery is plugged in, it's not going to let me know exactly what the board is taking by itself. It's a troubleshooting methodology. So, if I know how much power the board is taking, then I may have an idea as to where I should begin with my troubleshooting process. So I'm going to plug in turn on this power supply software here. It works great. So 24 milliamps. We have a light, but we have 24 milliamps being taken. 24 milliamps most of the time is missing PM Sleep S4L, one of our favorite problems. So let's unplug everything from the machine and see where we go from there. If you listen to any podcast lately, favorite one. I enjoy some of the Scott Galloway podcast. Okay, so we've unplugged everything from the casing. Now remember, 24 milliamps is typically a missing PM Sleep S4L. I've realized that because on other boards where I was taking 24 milliamps, I would troubleshoot and I would see that PM Sleep S4L is missing. Now, PM Sleep S4L is a signal that's going to be required in order for the charger, in order for all the S4Ls to get turned on. So PM Sleep S4L is power management, sleep, to an S4 state when low. I want you to be awake. I don't want you to sleep. So that signal needs to be present so that it doesn't sleep. Now this is an 820-4924 board. So we're going to open a schematic and a board view here using Paul Daniels' software that, as usual, is drunk. And thank you very much to poop on. I highly appreciate it. But yeah, this here is drunk. So as you can see, what's happening is the board is opening in a different orientation than it is on the desk. Because apparently in Australia, they do vertical video and they fix their boards like this. Now, if you do this in America and then you fix the board like this in Australia, that I can understand. But who the fuck fixes the board like this? Like, this is just... nobody. Nobody on planet Earth fixes a board in this fucking position. This is insanity. But that is the very orientation that Paul Daniels' software will open the board to by default. This ridiculous Australian upside down backward ass toilet flushing bullshit. Why? And in true Apple fashion, not only does he do that, but he changes the shortcut to rotate the board from the old version to this version. Absolute fucking madman. Like Dr. Eggman from Sonic the Hedgehog. I can just see his teeth grinning and his mustache twisting. So what am I talking about with PM Sleep S4L? So let's just go through so when it's not turning on, the first thing that you want to do is check through your list of power rails. So this is the list of power rails. And several of those power rails are rails that are S3 or S4 state, like this. Now, there is a chip that creates some of those power rails, U7501. U7501 is going to create PP5ES3 as well as PP3V3S5. Now let's check out how this is enabled. So it looks like the 5-volt line of this chip, S3 rail, is enabled by P5ES3_enable. And if we trace that back to where it is coming from, you'll see that that comes from P5ES3END. So usually _L means that's present when it's low, and I guess _D means it's enabled when you have dick. So this P5ES3 enabled dick comes from PM Sleep S4L. PM Sleep S4L is going to come from the CPU/PCH. The PCH is integrated into the CPU here, but it's the same general principle. The PCH is creating it. Now, that signal, let's see if that's present. I probably is not, because it's taking 24 milliamps. Right, so we plug the thing in. We have that on the screen. We're going to turn on Paul Daniels' multimeter software. Let's see what orientation that shit shows up in on the screen. All right, at least some of his software appears to be sane. And we are going to measure and see what's present on pin 4 of this chip and go from there. So here we have the TPS 51980 chip, and it looks like we have 0 volts on PM Sleep S4L. Bam. See? So now we're going to take a look around the board and see if there's anything that sticks out to us as to why that's not present. Now, sometimes it's not present because the clock chip is not creating a clock signal. Could be it, but doesn't seem to be here. I have a little corrosion on this stuff above it, but that stuff is kind of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Those are for JTAG rubbish. And it's not... Now, when JTAGs are corroded, that can be bad because it'll short things to each other. But over here, nothing is shorted directly to something right next to it, so I'm not necessarily as concerned about that, although we'll come back to the fact that there's holes where probe point should be later. Now, if we take a look around here, let's see, do we have any shorted caps? Because often you'll have a shorted cap in the corner that messes up the 5-volt rails, and they'll move back and forth. But I don't think that's the case here, because when you have a short circuit on a rail and PM sleep S4L is missing, typically it'll be pulsing. So it'll go, try to turn on, and notice a short and go, ah, off, on, out, off. And that'll repeat itself. So you'll see it go 30, 30, 30, and that's not happening here. So we're just going to continue our trip around the board. What is you? What are you doing? Oh. Ouch. All right, this is a common corroder on the air on the A1466 models. This is important. So what this does is if you have all sys power good and PP3V3SO present with CPU VRP good, pretty much as long as you have, see this little pull-up signal over here and all sys power good, it'll create PMSOP good. Now, if you have PMSOP good, because all sys power good is present, meaning all your SO rails are there, and SMC delayed power good, which comes from the SMC, you will get something called sys power OK, which turns into PM PCH sys power OK. Now, let's take a look at the page that we find the signal on, shall we? So, if we click through, you'll see that there is this page for PCH power management, system power management. And this page is put together a lot nicer than it is on some of the schematics for the newer MacBooks. So what I like about this page is there's a pattern. You have all these ins in the left and outs in the right. So in order for you to have all your PM sleep S5L, S4L, and 3L, in order to enable your rails to turn on, you need to have these being present. And something tells me when the chip that creates that rail looks like this, they're not present. This is a chip that can be purchased on store.rossmangroup.com. And we are going to replace it right now and see if that fixes our problem, and then we can address the issues around the JTAG connector area. But first, let's address this. Why is Eli the computer gay hates you? I want to punch your stupid face about, after talking-ish about you, what's the mic you use for your life experience videos? Help me. I use this Rode video mic thing. I like it. It's some Rode TRRS shotgun mic. Eli and I are just people that have our typical back and forth. I don't hate Eli. I don't dislike Eli. I listen to his videos. Sometimes I agree with what he has to say. Sometimes I don't agree or disagree, but it provides thought-provoking content. Sometimes I think what he's saying is ridiculous, but it is a thought process, and we both are just adults that disagree every now and then, and also adults that like to give each other shit. So we both occupy this really strange niche on YouTube of long-form, 1 to 2 hour long instructional videos that most people are going, why is the video so long? 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 And we also occupy this strange niche where people say, we really like your educational content, make more of it, but when we make more of it, nobody watches it. So, and we both generally, we came to YouTube with the same idea. So he had a successful business and then moved on to YouTube. It's not like his life was started from YouTube. I came on to YouTube when I was about 3.5, 4 years into my business. I was 4 years into my business already, my repair business, when I came on here. So we both also did not envision there being tens of thousands of people watching. It wasn't like that was ever the goal. We both suck at creating thumbnails. We both suck at editing. So there's a lot of similarities there, even if there are differences in things like whether or not I'm going to go out of business or go bankrupt, similar to his computer repair shop in 2009 that offered about half the services that we do that are valuable to customers. Did I just say that out loud? Anyway, so what I'm going to do here, I don't hate the dude at all. We just disagree every now and then, and because we disagree and we're grown-ups, we like to give each other shit, and that is what it is. I like giving Eli shit, and every now and then I'm sure he likes giving me shit. But at the end of the day, it's all just friendly back and forth and banter. And the other thing is, like, I can appreciate where he's coming from when he says, I don't give a fuck about anybody, any of the viewers, etc., and so forth. When he says, you know, I want you to lead a good life, but I never want to meet you. Honestly, I get that because I feel the same way about, you know, many people on YouTube aren't honest about certain things like that. Like, you know, I try to be nice to people, but at the same time, I try to also, you know, I'm not your friend, I'm not your family member, I'm a dude on the internet. I don't know. We also seem to have the same general, what's the word I'm looking for? We have the same general thoughts with regards to social behavior and, you know, being confused by social norms and getting along with people. Or lack of getting along with people. Anyway. Quality has dropped low. Yeah, so what I would suggest that you do, if you don't like the quality of the stream, or the bitrate that I'm forced to stream at, I would highly suggest that you call Spectrum and ask them why the fuck they give this type of garbage connection to somebody who pays them $450 a month. Call Spectrum, tell them Rossman Repair Group at 186 First Avenue has been paying you over $400 a month for like 3 fucking years now, and his connection still sucks, and I can't watch his stream. So what I would do is I would tell Spectrum to fix my fucking internet. But that's never going to happen because they're Spectrum. Alright, so that being said, these are the duck-bill tweezers again. I can't use those for anything. Okay. Okay. It looks like I may be missing the PP3V42 via over here. Let's dig a little bit. Might actually be able to scrape it away from right next door. How can I help you?
What does your color code translate to?
Oh, it's just green, green, blue, blue, yellow, yellow.
Is it?
Yeah. I had a little marker on each of them, but it was the washable marker.
Yeah, that's gone. So on the back of the controller is the same as the Bafang?
Yep.
You sure?
The hall sensor is not, but the normal phase wires are.
You had them hooked up on.
Hmm?
The yellow was the only one that survived, I think.
I destroyed the wire as well as the motor. That's awesome. Alright, so I think I've created enough in there to solder to. See? Whenever you think something's gone, you can actually make it reappear with an X-Acto sometimes and just digging a little. I think that was one of my biggest red pill moments when it came to board repair and going, how do they do that? There's no more pad! Sean said, stick one of the Spectrum supervisors on your connection. They've solved chronic issues for me in hours. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They'll fix it, and then the next day it'll just be fucked up again. The solution is to move to a store that doesn't have Spectrum. And the new store has files. That's going to be great. I could stream in 28 megabit per second or 4. I could stream in the fucking recording bitrate if I wanted to. I got gigabit. It's going to be awesome. Sometimes at home, just for the hell of it, just for flexing purposes, I tried streaming at 20 or 30 megabit per second, and it just works. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, there's no point to doing it, but it's just like, I can. So I'm going to, because I can. Hello, Paul.
Welcome.
pretty?
It's hard to tell if that got connected.
Which, the hall sensor thing?
Yeah.
It's so annoying, yeah. I push in and then I silicone the crap out of it so that it would never move again. But I didn't realize that there would be maintenance.
At least I can test it without gluing this all back together. Just connect it, see if it runs.
How do you know which one is which color?
This one's still green. This one's yellow. That one's blue.
Why did green is the only one that survived?
I don't know. I don't think I want to know.
This is so pretty. Eventually I'm going to have to get some quarter 20 bolts for the metal.
Yes, you do.
But it's surviving very well with only 2.
Did you see this?
Oh my god. Holy shit. How did my battery even put out enough power to do this? The casing!
Burnt up. Smells good.
I don't even have the casing on the other one.
Okay, keep going.
Alright, what do I have to do here? Ah, yes, get my donor board. What are the chances of a donor board having U1950 on it? The first one I pulled out of the slot had a U1950. God damn. That's sexy. You should try Please Broing Spectrum. That requires being on the phone and on hold for a very long time. Which is time that means no board repair. Which means no making money. Which means no moving. Very bad. Must fix boards. What? 1 second, can't hear you. Alright, so that's floating above the pads, which is no good. I gotta push it down. Because when you grab it with the tweezers, if you grab it too low on the chip, it... Did you really just... No way, no way, no way. No way. You didn't just fly away. Okay, now I gotta figure out which side is which. Now you may notice that there's a disconnect in the PP3V42_G3 hot trace above. I don't know what M12 is, I'm sorry. I know, I'm a noob. I apologize for being a noob, but I don't know what that means. One of the most difficult things I've realized while I was trying to put together the bike is, like, I know what I want, I don't know what it's called, and I won't be able to say what I need. So for example, like when I needed to make the hall sensor wire from the Subvaton controller to the BBS HD, I needed the connector and the plug. But I know what it looks like, but what the fuck is this called? And it's a JST connector. And then everybody kept saying, oh yeah, it's just a JST. And I said, okay, that's what I need. So then I asked for it, and then I look like a dumbass because JST is a brand, not a connector. It's not like I'm saying the exact thing I want. So I wound up having to buy every single one of them to find the one that fits. And the worst part is I forgot the damn name of it, so now if I had to answer that again, I couldn't. But that's what my order history is for it. But yes, I honestly don't know what that is. I'm sorry. I'm a noob. And the other thing is not really knowing where to learn that stuff. Alright, so I'm going to put a wire here just to make sure that the PP3V42 makes its way. To the chip. M12 12 millimeters, 0.472 inches in freedom unit. Okay, so that's a unit of measurement, but I still don't know where that relates to what the question was, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Doesn't change my nubness at all. Okay, so now we are going to move this. Hot air it into place nicely, so I want my jumper to be where it's comfortable. Not just where I put it, I want it to actually flow to where it would be comfortable. Because that's where it's going to be most stable long term. Now, I want this to be able to survive getting dropped, all sorts of things. I want this to survive all the abuse that I should expect a Mac owner to inflict on their product. Okay, let's just rapid cool it for a second. Get it by a breeze. Alright, we're getting 600 milliamps, which should mean we're getting fan spin soon. Now keep in mind, this is an 820-4924, not an 820-3536 or 820-3476. That means that the fan is not going to spin on this until it's about 20 degrees Celsius higher than the older machine. So Apple had a design that actually wasn't overheating. It's rare for Apple, but it was, running at a somewhat reasonable temperature, and they decided to, we can't have that. So the thing's on right now. You may not believe me, but it is, and you're going to see that it's going to take about a minute or two for this fan to come on, even as this heatsink burns, because Apple. So let's just give it a minute. That's a nice warm heatsink. All right, the fan really doesn't seem to want to spin on this, so now that's worrying me, because even by Apple's cooling standards, that should have started spinning. So let's see if this thing is capable of booting into an operating system. Maybe they just updated the firmware or something and made it run even more warm. I know there was recently an update with Catalina where it was updating the firmware, and there was some 3264-bit kind of issue, and it was killing a lot of them. So that's some pretty interesting firmware upgrades that Apple had going on for this model. But let's just see what I get on the screen, see if this thing is brain dead. And we have an Apple logo there. Beautiful. I don't have the webcam plugged in, so it's not doing the ambient light sensing where it sees that it's a really bright environment and turning the screen up. I don't have the ambient light sensor plugged in, so it's stuck on the last brightness. And again, I have a lot of lighting in this office so that you can see all the wrinkles and contortions in my aging face, as well as you be able to see all the corrosion on the board. And without the webcam plugged in, it's booting to the low brightness, because inside the webcam is the automated light sensor. So what we did to this machine to make it work again, first thing we did is we plugged it in, and we realized, we're able to recognize that there was a problem with PM Sleep S4L missing before I even took out the board or opened my multimeter, by seeing how much power the board's using. That is an excellent diagnostic shortcut. How many amps is it taking? And if you can't remember it, that's fine. Write down a table every time you have a problem. This is how many amps it was taking without the battery plugged in. This was my problem, so that you can associate it. And then in the future, you save time on troubleshooting. That was done. Beautiful. Great. And then we figured out that was actually missing. We looked around the board at the typical culprits for a missing PM Sleep S4L. Clock, not there. Short circuit, not there. U1950. Ow. Burned, destroyed, replaced. There's a little bit of other corrosion on the board that's unrelated. That's only if I want to program it to the JTAG connector, which I don't necessarily care about because I don't have access to the tool to do that. So I'm going to clean up that corrosion a little bit. This thing will get ultrasonicked, reassembled, tested, and it'll go back to a happy customer that otherwise probably would have been bent over the bar by Apple. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for taking part in what we do here. And I will see you all in the next video.